Hi guys, welcome to Bombshells and Blue Shells, the podcast spin-off of the website bombshellsandblueshells.com. I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And today we have a research episode.
Whoop, whoop.
I did research.
I did not do research. I fell asleep during some research.
You were present
I
body.
existed at the time research was being done.
Did exist during my research. The cinema near us does kind of like special events and stuff like that, and we booked ourselves in to go and watch Audition.
We did.
Because you'd never seen it, but I had.
I have not seen Audition, I have to say, and nor did we see Audition that night either.
Shh, don't tell the people that.
Don't tell the people.
But that kind of special screening of Audition led to a remembrance and rekindling of fondness for the Tartan Asia Extreme line of DVDs.
T-A-E.
T-A-E, as only us are branding it.
Just happened.
We just decided this. So it was a kind of branding movement, and it got me thinking about the introduction of sort of Asian cinema into kind of the UK and into America and things, and how that took off. So I did a little bit of research on just Tartan films in general, because Tartan is a distribution company that was set up in 1984. It was set up by Hamish McAlpine, and it merged with Metro in 1991, becoming Metro Tartan, which kind of gave it this major art house sort of art film distribution. So anything a little bit weird kind of came through them. It reverted back to just being Tartan Film in 2003 and distributed kind of numerous types of film. So at this point, it was kind of lots of different types of kind of indie art house or foreign film. So it has like the Ingrid Bergman collection, indie films such as The Cooler and Secretary. Have you seen Secretary?
I have not seen either of those, but I feel like we've talked about Secretary.
Maggie Gyllenhaal, bit of like a...
That's why I think we were talking about it.
I think it was like a... If you're a little bit too, I don't know, swanky for 50 Shades of Grey, Secretary.
Oh, wow.
It's like 50 Shades before that. It's a little bit of a...
Well, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens.
But they also, like, their biggest success was Super Size Me.
Of course. McDonald's man.
The McDonald's man who wanted to prove that McDonald's bad.
And turns out, McDonald's bad.
Yeah, there was a few like documentaries that came out after it where they were like, I did it and it wasn't that bad. So there's been some conjecture on how intense the actual things are. But I think even before Super Size Me, we all kind of knew that if you eat 3 meals a day, 7 days a week from Mackey's...
Have they done a spin-off of it now where it's Super High Me?
Super High Me is another one,
the
yeah.
advent of kind of, I don't know, weed legality in America.
Like FDA documentaries.
I'm sure they've done one
They
now.
did.
I've not watched it. I think it might be interesting to watch.
I saw a few things on it. I would enjoy watching it, and I'm pretty sure his health benefits were quite substantial.
Yeah, I think it was. I think that's what I was reading.
I'm sure it was...
Just that he was actually had less pain and something else.
What is it? It's not
anxiety or depression or something.
Maybe it was. I'm sure it was one of those silly videos we've been watching, and it was like, I just remember something about it's not SATs. What big test is?
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was. It was intelligence went up, wasn't it?
Yeah, like he scored better on tests.
It's SATs, isn't it?
Is it SATs?
Yeah, they call them SATs over there, where they do like punch marking through
the dotty lines. But yeah, and they also did Capturing the Freedmen. So those are some other documentary kind of things.
Never heard of
it. Primer.
Brilliant film.
Primer, the confusing ball of clusterfuck that is. It's amazing, but...
Adult Donnie Darko.
Yeah,
even adulter.
I was going to say adulter.
Adulter. But no adultery.
But yeah, that
I recall.
very mathematical, science-based.
Out of B, some sort of mathematical equation that reverts to the fact that he is a time traveller.
Yeah.
Or something.
But that was a Tartan DVD release, which just, that kind of, secretary, primer, supersize me.
If you have not seen Primer, if you have not seen it, just go out and buy it. It's probably like £1 at your DVD shop.
Yeah.
Maybe. It definitely doesn't have a Blu-ray. But it might be even less than £1, 50p. Just get it.
50p bargain.
I mean, I went straight for DVD as if that's where you're going to go. It's probably on some sort of streaming service.
I don't know if it would be. I'm going to have a look up at
Amazon
that.
Prime?
Yeah, I imagine it would be.
Buy it Prime?
Yeah. Well,
that's not called Amazon. You could buy it.
Amazon, you can buy it Prime.
Amazon.com.
But probably. Yeah, I think the fact that it's got titles like that kind of tells you what Tartan was about. It was about bringing something different to the market, really. Unfortunately, by June 2008, the distribution company had gone into administration and it sold off its catalogue to Palisades Media Group and became Palisades Tartan. So again, lots of merging of this distribution company. So they didn't create the films, they weren't the companies behind it, but they were basically the ones that packaged it into a DVD and sold it to a global market. They sold it to the UK and American market. So bringing Eastern cinema to the West is what they did.
I'm going to question whether it's Palisades or Palisades.
It could be Palisades. I mean,
I'm going to throw out Palisades as the correct answer.
Palisades?
That's what I'm going to go with.
So, full disclosure on this episode,
Palisades.
It's going to be Alex butchers the names of everything.
Yeah.
I'm just going to cock up every name that I say.
I'm going to call Guardians Guardans.
I'm going to slap you in the duodenum. So I found a little quote because Hamish McAlpine, who kind of founded this company, was quite well known within the film industry. And this is a Guardian quote, and I'll link to the article that I got this from. So, eccentric and flamboyant, McAlpine was an adventurous distributor with a taste that ranged from the best US independent cinema to turn-of-the-century pornography, the good old naughty days, to films about serial killers, Ed Gein and Bundy, and classic European art house cinema. Tartan has released far more Ingmar Bergman titles on DVD than any Swedish distributor. He championed free speech, constantly jousting with the BBFC over ratings for films such as The Pornographer and The Isle. He was pioneering in introducing British cinemagoers to the works of Asian directors like Park Chan-wook, Wong Kar-wai, and Kim Ki-duk. So he was a massive kind of advocate of all these different types of films, different languages of films and things being more readily available in the UK. And obviously 1984 to 2008, we weren't as much in the streaming community. You still bought physical media.
Were we in the streaming community in 2008?
Was it Love Film? Was Love Film where they sent you DVDs? So I think Blockbuster and stuff had gone by then.
I never partook in Love Film. Is that the one precursor to Netflix?
It's the precursor to Netflix where you still had a list of things and you could put them in order and they would mail you DVDs.
Wow.
So it was introverted Blockbuster. You didn't actually have to go and speak to the person and admit what DVDs you wanted from them.
Wow.
So
that's the second Owen. What's it?
Wow.
Wow. Third.
Owen Wilson in it.
Owen Wilson, that's that guy.
Have we done any research on Primer on the Amazon? You can buy it now.
You should not search for Primer in Amazon DVDs because most of it is porn. Apparently. Or
search for Primer, no one will know you're looking for porn.
Yeah, you've got the perfect excuse. There are 3 links to an unavailable Shane Carruth Primer DVD.
Okay.
And then the rest is porn.
I was so disappointed by my lack of Primer that I watched some porn.
I just bought it.
But the area of tartan that I wanted to kind of discuss, because you don't necessarily think of it like, I think I was a teen when a lot of these came out, and you'd still go to HMV, and these were like the risky DVDs, like you've tried all the slashes that were going on at the time and the torture porn and all that kind of stuff, and this was something a bit different. So it's clearly kind of really well known for its involvement with Asian films, specifically kind of East and Southeast Asia, like mostly as a category. McAlpine is credited with championing this kind of Asian horror and pioneered the Tartan Asia Extreme video line, and that launched in 2001 and was kind of the first of its kind, like the first distribution DVD company sort of thing, that focused primarily on that. Obviously, you've got things like Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome that do horror and remaster horror and things, but these guys were one of the first to kind of go, let's look further afield to East and Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I think it opened the doors for a lot of Westerners to Eastern films, whether that was extreme or not.
Yeah, because they have like there's Tartan Asia and there's Tartan Asia Extreme, and obviously that focused in more on not just horror. This is, I think, I might be jumping. I've got research and pages and things, and I might be jumping a little bit ahead.
Well, I guess
I'm gonna jump ahead. But from watching a few of them, it's not extreme. Doesn't mean be prepared to shit your pants
or gore,
or it just kind of, it means anything that maybe is thought-provoking or challenging or kind of can make you a little bit uncomfortable and uneasy is what I found with some of these films. Like, I've not been scared, but I've been kind of, if that's an emotion.
Yeah, and probably for similar reasons throughout a lot of these. There's definitely some repeating themes throughout a lot of these franchises or individual films that I didn't realise if you watch them separately in big spaces with big spaces in between to watching them
back to back as we have.
Quite a lot of repeating themes.
Yeah,
which we will get on to.
One of which I will just keep yelling. But some of the titles that they've kind of brought that have been the biggest hitters have been like Japanese films, so the Ringu series, Audition, and Battle Royale. We love the Battle Royale. South Korean films, so The Isle, Oldboy, and A Tale of Two Sisters. Hong Kong films, so Hard Boiled and the Infernal Affairs series. So we didn't really get round to any of those.
We didn't get round to either of those, did we?
No.
I imagine Hard Boiled is about an egg. Or it could be about that time that you left the egg in the pan.
Oh my god,
the water boiled to nothing, and the egg literally flung itself out of the pan, exploded midair, and terrified as well.
This is all conjecture because we were not in the kitchen when this egg exploded.
It was on the floor. The pan was burned.
The cats could have done something.
Of course it was the cats.
No, Hard Boiled, darling, is in like PI detectives. Hard Boiled detective.
Oh, right.
Like,
I don't get that reference.
Film noir and Pulp Fictions and things like that.
Is that what's called Hard Boiled?
Hard Boiled.
Right. Filmy things.
And then filmy things. And then also films from Thailand, so Bangkok Dangerous and The Eye.
Oh yeah, Nicolas Cage and Jennifer Alba. Jessica Alba.
No. The Thai ones. We'll get to that later as well. So Tartan Asia Extreme became its own brand that was introducing us to these different films. So, like I said, the Ringu franchise was huge. So Ring, Ring 2, Ring 0, and then Spiral and 3 Sadako. See, butchering. 3 Sadako films that weren't under Tartan Asia Extreme. They were separate, but that franchise itself is massive. And then things like the Vengeance trilogy, so Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Oldboy, and Lady Vengeance.
Oh, Lady Vengeance. We have not watched that, but we got it down from the shelf yesterday.
We got it down from the shelf, but then 2 films in one night with subtitles was gonna make my head explode.
3, didn't we watch 2?
3, bugger, yeah. I watched Bangkok Haunted as well, didn't I? So the brand itself kind of covers a big range of things. So things like Hard Boiled and The Infernal Affairs are much more, like I said, pulpy crime kind of things. And there was a few of them that we watched.
Procedural?
Yeah, like
Ish.
police and kind of investigative instead of, so more along the lines of crime thriller.
Tell Me Something that was like that?
Tell Me Something.
So very procedural.
Yeah, very much kind of investigating a crime instead of focusing on the horror and things. Like you were saying before, we did notice that there was a lot of kind of repeated themes or motifs or just styles.
Oh, holy crap, I didn't realise you'd researched that bit.
Researched that
look
bit.
At me. I mean, like, intelligently bringing things up before the... just solid
well,
links.
I want that. That's your point. There's your point.
So a lot of the themes throughout these films involve, like, folklore, ghost stories, honour, allegiance, obviously mainstays of kind of Eastern lifestyle and culture. Breakdown of kind of family and kind of the individual when dealing with guilt, jealousy and dishonour. Mainly with kind of inexplicable supernatural occurrences that happen through it. Also linked to the kind of ghost story aspects. A lot of kind of physiological forms of terror and dread repeated throughout the series. That's definitely a word. Serai.
Not Siri, the Serai.
Serai. And just generally kind of empty spaces.
Well, there's a lot of like home-based horror, and a lot of it is kind of, like you're saying, that past guilt coming back in the form of a ghost through the folklore and things like that, in the form of a spirit. And they don't do the amped up close-ups. Like, a lot of it, there'll just be something happening in the corner of a room. So, like, especially a Tale of Two Sisters and things. Yeah. It's like there's always something in the background. Like,
Michael Flanagan.
Haunting of Hill House. You can look and there's just something there that wants to draw your attention to it. And they don't need the screechy staccato sort of violins and things to make us nervous. They'll just pop it there, and then when you notice it, you're like, shit, how long's that been there?
Brilliant. That's the best way it could be. You know, a lot, yes, it's in the sound. If you turn the sound off in a horror film, it mainly reduces the impact of any of the scares.
Yeah, cover your ears, not your eyes.
But I think a lot of these Tartan Asia Extreme kind of films don't necessarily rely on that at all, and they leave a lot to your imagination, and the fact that you are embedded in the characters as well makes the shocking scenes, or the suggested shocking scenes, a lot more impactful.
Like, there is a lot that I would classify as kind of slow burners. Like, they take their time getting to the explicit horror elements and things because they invest you a lot more. And I think, like you were saying, with the kind of folklore and ghost stories and things, the different cultural and religious aspects of kind of the Eastern world and things like that are so different to us, and so kind of they don't just, so like the spiritual and things like that, it doesn't just mean something bad. So often, like, if we have demons and ghosts and ghouls in a British or American film, it's because they're evil, they're benevolent spirits. Whereas
I feel like The Grudge was actually a positive spirit at one point in one of the series elements.
Yeah,
it wasn't seen to be a vengeful spirit.
It's not trying to hurt. There's spirits that are trying to protect from other bad spirits and things, and there's spirits that are simply there as a reminder of the past. Because obviously a lot of not to go too far, I did some research and I fell down some rabbit holes and things, but obviously, like, Japan kind of, especially dealing with post World War II and their kind of actions during that, and the actions taken against them that made them both villain and victim at the same time, which caused such a kind of split dynamic of how they saw themselves as a culture. And then, as with a lot of kind of Eastern areas, you can take a train from one area where it looks like Times Square with giant billboards and the most advanced, technology in the world, take a short train journey and you're in the most rural temple. And it's that clashing of the two, that fear of the two, the past and the future combining. And I think that's also why, so the first one that we're going to mention in a second, I think that's why The Ring is about like infected technology. Old ghost infecting new thing. Like, it's a videotape virus.
It is.
I also didn't know, this is off topic, because it's not a Tartan Asia, and I wanted it to be because we'd watched it, but Pulse that we watched with...
Yes, Good Place Lady.
Yep, cannot remember her name.
She's blonde.
She's blonde.
She's got a face.
She does have a face. Okay, we'll come back to that, but yeah, Pulse that we watched
Elsa?
No, that's Frozen.
Is she blonde?
She's also a blonde.
She's got a face.
I
was close.
Kristen Bell. Kristen Bell. Kristen Bell. And she plays Anna in Frozen. So you're kind of linking things that are right together.
Nailed it.
But, back to point, Pulse is also a remake of an Asian film. So
is this playing the game of guess which one on the list it is?
No, because it's not a Tartan Asia Extreme.
Okay.
It wasn't distributed by them, so I didn't put it on.
Was it also called Pulse?
It was also called Pulse. So I feel like we now need to watch that one, because apparently it's much better. But I quite enjoyed the American one. But we'll also get to the fun of American remakes versus...
American remake tennis.
Yeah. So...
Top trumps.
Top trumps.
Top trumps better than tennis.
Yeah, otherwise we're just batting them back and forth to each other, making grunty noises, which I don't think is great for an audio medium.
No. Have you ever played fart tennis? That would be really good.
No.
That would be really good on audio.
No! Tone fucking lowered. So I did the research on it. We had a little look into kind of what Tartan Asia Extreme put out, and some of them we had on the shelf. We noticed that we did have quite a few of their titles, so we kind of picked a few from the shelves that we could get through, because it sounds like such a sad excuse, but seriously, subtitle films can be hard work. It's not like you can throw them on while you're doing other things, so you've got to pay attention. And I really can't do dubbing. It doesn't sit well with me. I just don't like
dub.
I do not like the dubs. But we picked out a few that either we'd watched recently for this purpose or that we'd seen before. And it's not like we're not going to review into them too much, but I just wanted to discuss some of the kind of bigger titles from Tartan Asia Extreme. So I have ordered them by year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you have.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, wow.
So
I was trying to figure out what the logic was behind this system.
How had I put them together? I went chronological.
Chronological by first in franchise.
Chronological by first in franchise. Because
Awesome.
I thought I'm not going to come back to the Ring constantly. But our first one is the Ringu franchise, with Ringu 1 coming out in 1998. This was directed by Hideo Nakata and is a Japanese film. So this was distributed by Tartan Asia. Obviously, this is one of their big, major ones. So, a quick synopsis for anyone who is not familiar with Ringu. Investigating the inexplicable, near-simultaneous deaths of her young niece and 3 teenage friends, reporter Asakawa learns of a story about a supernaturally cursed videotape circulating among school kids. As soon as anyone has watched the tape, allegedly recorded by mistake from a dead TV channel, the telephone rings and the viewer has exactly 1 week to live. 7 days. That's our amazing impression. I have not seen the sequels to this. I think I've seen the American sequels.
Oh, I've definitely seen the American sequels. I do not remember seeing Ringu 2.
No, or Ringo
Ringu 0.
So Ringo 0, I think, had a : birthday. So I assume it's a prequel sequel.
365 days for 7 days.
342 days?
No, 372 days.
Mm.
This is why you do count brick things.
This is why I'm not a brick counter.
You do teachy thing, wordy box.
Wordy box.
I do county brick things.
Don't teach maths. Have to tell the students this constantly. This is why I don't teach maths. Yeah, really messed up on that one. But back to this. I remember I have read, and it was a long time ago, I think I was maybe about 13, 14, when I read the Ring and Spiral, the books. I remember really enjoying them. I remember something about Samara. Well, I think that's the American name.
It is the American name, isn't it? Why can't I remember the Japanese name?
I'm just going to call her Samara for now because I feel like I'll butcher that less.
Sakako?
Yes, it is Sadako. Because I said that's what I butchered earlier.
Is it?
Yeah. It's in the previous...
No fucking way.
Yeah, the Sadako films.
Fucking yes.
So, Sadako, I remember there being an element of the story where I'm pretty sure she was a hermaphrodite. And that's why, or part of the reason that she was thrown into the well. It was a long time ago, and I don't think they really touch upon this in the films, but I do feel like I remember that being part of the book. Is it Koji something who wrote
Sadako.
the book? Yeah, we've confirmed this already, darling. I thought you were looking up the book.
Oh no, I don't read.
Okay.
I didn't know I could read until you wrote all this.
And I read it. Look, Mark reads. But I remember really enjoying the books, and they did kind of bring more to the world of the film when I then started thinking about the films. But I think this is, if not the kind of starting ground for it, one of the ones that made famous the creepy, creaky moving girl with the long black hair who makes weird noises. See, that's Grudge.
I know it is. I know. I was just doing creaky noises.
But this was...
To highlight the fact that there were creaky noises in Japanese films.
There is, often. And the dark-haired ghost girl is a big, big part of this kind of branding of film and things. Do you remember watching this? The original version?
I think I watched it after the American remake, which made it a lot more difficult to watch, I think, just because the American remake is a lot more accessible. It's
a higher budget and things like that as well, but I think...
But I enjoyed it. It's definitely, I think, got a lot more meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Would be the way I would approach it.
I think so. I think it's that kind of...
more relatable or feel... What's the word I'm looking for?
Empathy?
Yes, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I think that comes from the way the Japanese treat ghosts and ghost stories. Like, she's not just something to be feared. She is something to be understood, and there's more to it and things. But I think they treat them differently to us. They're not just oogie boogies. You know, there's a deeper meaning behind any spirit, be it vengeful or non-vengeful.
Yeah.
But I do think that was such a big kind of mainstay in introducing Western audience to Eastern films by bringing the kind of Ring franchise in with the creepy girl and the videotape and the kind of, again, that things from the past, discrepancies and misdeeds from the past coming back to haunt those in the future or the present, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, the cursed object or the cursed building.
Yeah, the thing that brings something else with it, and such a simple technique.
What would the Western equivalent of that be? Like a Indian burial ground type film?
Kind of, but I still think because
you've got to rectify something that was upset.
But I think the problem with that is this isn't the Japanese rectifying something that was upset because of them.
Yeah.
You know, I think the whole Indian burial ground trope, which has thankfully been removed from a lot of things recently, and it's not as overused and things. I'm looking at you, Mr. King.
I was literally about to say that one that we watched the other day with the cat in it.
Pet Sematary.
Yeah. Terrible film.
Shining, all those things. But this, we don't have that as much because we don't have necessarily... It would almost be like, I don't know, very gothic, bringing a Victorian painting into the house and being haunted by, children.
Right.
No, that's Eternal Life and stuff.
I'm trying to think of it a Western equivalent, and the only one I can think of is like Del Toro.
Yeah, and that's to do with the atrocities committed to the Spanish people, and that coming back to haunt the present. So like Santi in The Devil's Backbone and things coming back to wreak revenge on the man that's trying to hurt the children and stuff.
Lopez.
And Issa Lopez and things like that.
Not afraid, but I can't think of anything
like British
or Dead Man's Shoes. Would you say that almost?
It's not so much the Ghost of the Past though. But I think that is the closest equivalent of like something coming back to haunt us or to haunt the people, because
it's very literal.
Yeah, and I think that's because we don't have that same folklore, spiritual kind of thing. We have ghost stories, but that's not. It's not from the same cultural region, is it?
True.
But my dum-dum comment to follow that is just, I like the tape montage.
Yep, tape montage is good.
I just think it's simple.
On the rare occasion I went deeper.
You did! You shine me up now. I have to stop this podcast.
Boom.
I won't be a smart one.
Film media shit.
But just the kind of the simplicity of taking just images, some normal, some disturbing, some too quick to even see what's really going on, and turning them into this virus, this kind of visually infected virus I thought that was quite an interesting thing. I'm sure it's not the first one to do that, and obviously that's something that Pulse takes on later and things as well, films like that, where it's like a viral element through technology. I really like that. So I think The Ring was a big backbone to introducing us Westerners to an Eastern film.
Almost a devil's backbone.
A devil's backbone. And we bring it right back round.
Boom.
So moving on to our next film. So we're in 1999 now with Takashi Miike's Audition. I wondered what the fuck you were going to sing then.
I'm fairly sure that's not the tune either. It's just, I knew there was a song called that.
There was a song.
Yeah. I feel like it was a Prince song too.
It was a Prince song.
Boosh.
This is another Japanese film. Recent widower Shigeru Aoyama is advised by his son to find a new wife. Agreeing, he seeks the advice of a colleague, having been out of the dating scene for many years. Taking advantage of their position as a film company, they stage an audition. Interviewing a series of women, Shigeru becomes enchanted by Asami, a quiet 24-year-old woman who is immediately responsive to his charms. But soon things take a very dark and twisted turn as we find that Asami isn't what she seems to be.
I mean, surprisingly, it is made from the film company that is far too easily encouraging of this entire scenario.
Mate, just post an audition for a new wife.
Do it all the time, mate. Do it all the time. Get loads of these women in.
Worries.
And then just go, not even a second breath. I'll get you a wife. Don't worry about it.
We'll just tell her the film fell through, but she was definitely going to be the lead.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It's definitely going to happen. I mean, it almost takes like a stronger presence in the lineup. I know it's 1999, but given recent events and recent occurrences of
casting couch
type affairs,
that did make it uncomfortable, I think.
Meaning.
Yeah, and I think at one point while watching the film, I Googled the age difference between our two romantic leads, and there was a solid 20 years difference between them, which obviously they play upon and they acknowledge, but not in enough of a this is skeezy way for my liking, because it's skeezy.
I mean, the whole process is skeezy.
Yeah.
But that said, the film is disturbing.
Yeah. I think there's this, like we said, there's that skeezy element of you kind of going, oh, I don't agree with this isn't great. But at the same time, you do have this fondness for Shigeru as a character. He is a nice man, and you can kind of see...
He's almost like the naive, kind of... I don't know, I'm not going to say depressed, but, he's looking for a new turn, isn't he?
Yeah.
A new opportunity.
Fulfillment through love.
Yeah, exactly. And he thinks he's found that by way of this casting couch process, which...
Leads to Azumi.
Assuming?
That's what I'm going with.
Oh, okay.
Be confident.
Alright, I'll go with it. Assuming. But ultimately, leads to some pretty tricky situations.
Yeah. There. I feel like there has to be spoilers, and like I say, this is a 1999 film, so apologies, but we go through all of this. It's very much kind of romance building and everything being nice, and him, obviously he lost his wife. He was obviously in a relationship with her for a long time. They had a child, and the son's encouraging it as well. You should find a wife. Maybe not in that way, but he's encouraging it. And it's not until we get to the point, really, as we go further in, and we realise that...
It's fully in the third act.
Yeah.
This just goes, fuck you guys, and go batshit.
Yeah. It's like I say, I can only compare it to when I first watched Carrie. I remember sitting there and watching it for an hour and being like, when does shit happen? This is a romance. And I was just waiting and waiting. And then you get the big climax. And yeah, we kind of figure out, there's a man in a bag with not enough fingers, and he eats vomit, and there's a tongue, and then poor Shigeru gets tranked, and he can't move.
He has no leg bits at one point, right?
He's... Who? The guy in the sack?
Shigeru.
She uses piano wire to cut his foot off.
That's it.
That's
pretty great.
And the... which is basically just further. As she's putting needles into him, and she's just pushing them further and further in. It'll make you never want to do acupuncture. That shit looks deadly and so very painful.
Extreme.
So yeah, it just goes absolutely off the
while we're on that
hill.
subject, actually, I watched The Evil Dead, the remake, the other day, where she's stabbing the guy in the eye with a needle.
Yes.
Also, that doesn't look like fun.
No eye stuff.
Acupuncture, just generally. It's just...
Unless it's a necessary jab.
And I may be missing out on something here. But it doesn't look fun.
Keep your needles to yourself.
Yes.
But yeah, I think as I was watching it, you were saying...
Also, Final Destination 5.
Not
there's
Asian.
Acupuncture thing. And he dies in a blazing inferno. With all the things sticking in his face or back or whatever. No, it's his face. It's his face. Just, there are so many points pointing towards acupuncture being a bad thing. Boom, point, pun.
Point, pun.
Crack up.
Well, I was going to come back to you were saying a bit about, dream logics and things like that.
I don't remember saying that. That doesn't sound like something I said.
So when you were saying about the themes of kind of breaking from reality, when we were talking
at the start
about the overall theme.
Oh, I did say that. Yeah, I did say that.
So Audition kind of has a lot of dream logic sequences, and after looking it up, it has Miike has confirmed this, but there's definitely David Lynch inspiration here from his kind of internalized dream sequences in his films. There's definitely that kind of Lynchian inspiration there. But also, as far as what this might have inspired itself, because Asumi is kind of this. Asami is this like badass at the end. She's so demure and so kind of feminized throughout it, and then for her just to put on, we get to the end point, and she's got these leather gloves, this leather kind of apron on and things, and all I could think of was American Mary.
Oh, 100%. I'm with you on that one. That was so... Well, Sasuke Sisters was so that.
And that's this kind of, this woman that takes revenge back on the men who have wronged her. It's one of those where there's a lot of kind of women wronged in these films for different circumstances and things, but there's definitely a big theme of kind of like Asumi being abused by her dance instructor, and then her relationship with men and things like that. So there's a revenge kind of based element to it.
There's definitely a repeating theme with the feet as well, right?
Feet?
Dance instructor had a mangled foot, or he had stumps.
Well, I think it's to do with...
Is it to do with
movement and dance and things like that, isn't it? But the dance instructor, he was in a wheelchair and things, and then obviously she'd amputated the feet of the guy in the bag as well and stuff. So I think it was to do with restricting them the way she'd been restricted, and possibly.
Right.
But yeah, I think that was one that you kind of do that. I'd watched it before. I'd watched it when I was younger. So this was one of those where I was semi-watching it and just semi-watching you. Like, what are you thinking? How's it going? What are you looking for? Our second film of 1999 was one we mentioned a little bit about in the intro. So Tell Me Something by Chang Yoon-Hyun. And this is a Korean film. It is
South Korean, I would imagine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If I say Korean, I mean South Korean. That's all we're getting.
Is that a given? Oh
I
yeah.
think so, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't say Kim Jong-il.
Directed by, starring, written by...
World champion of boxing by...
Created handbags. No, stop. We cannot do this.
I am the king of the library. Kim Jong-il.
Tell Me Something was one that was a bit more crime-based. In the middle of Korea's rainy season, black plastic bags filled with dismembered body parts are being found around Seoul. Washed-up cop Cho is assigned to the case and soon discovers a link between the victims. They were all at one point lovers of museum curator Che?
Yep.
As Cho gets closer to her, he begins to uncover dark and dangerous secrets from Che's past. At the same time, the serial killer begins taunting the police with films of his victims' violent murders. What is in Che's past that has driven the killer to such extremes?
During the description of this film, you used a word that I've never heard before. Never heard before. You used it in such a way that made it seem like it was normal words.
It is a normal word.
And I wouldn't say I am the most learned of the people in the world, but I would say I'm alright at words and shit.
Yeah, good at words and shit.
And I have never heard this word ever. So let's just get into that.
Scopophilia.
What is the word?
Scopophilia.
Still don't know what it means, and you told me what it means.
Scopophilia and like voyeurism, so a kind of fetishized enjoyment of watching.
Window shopping.
Yeah. Kind of, there's a lot to do with how... So watching a film itself is a form of this kind of voyeurism and things, and scopophilia goes a little bit kind of further and things with that. But it's like the safety of watching something unfold. We watch their lives and they don't get to know that we're there in the dark room watching them. Which is why breaking the fourth wall is such a big thing. When a film kind of acknowledges that it's a film or gives you a cheeky wink and you go, you're not meant to know that I'm watching you. This is my safe space.
Okay.
So there's a lot like Rear Window and things, the Hitchcock film, that's all about this voyeurism. He's stuck in a house, so he simply watches other people and makes stories about their life from the safety of knowing they can't see him.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I understand now.
Scopophilia.
There's so much scopophilia in the world. I'm just going to use it now. I'm going to go into Word tomorrow and use it.
Just figure out a way.
Yeah.
We need Windows for scopophilia.
I've got a meeting tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Don't throw that at them at Friday. Friday at a 10 a.m. meeting.
I'm going to leave them in the meeting room. I'm just going to hang out outside, just looking through the window, scopophilifying it.
Indulging in some voyeurism.
Just scopophiliaing.
But I mentioned that because there's such an emphasis on kind of looking in this film. So we get CCTV and things. We're constantly looking at Che through security cameras and the police cameras and from a distance in a protecting way, but also kind of this voyeuristic way.
Well, it's designed to be like that. I mean, it's very procedural. It's designed to be like that because ultimately, you know damn well there's going to be a twist in this.
Yes.
And I think I called it 10 minutes in.
You did.
I've seen so much Jonathan Creek and CSI, CSI New Boom, nailed it. It's setting them up for the big twist. You know where it's coming from. But ultimately, I didn't know how they were going to get there.
No,
and it was a really good ride, I think, getting through this story. There were elements of blood and guts and gore, but not necessarily immediate.
No, I'm going to have to interrupt you because the shopping trolley in the lift.
Shopping trolley? Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
I rewound it so that you had to watch it again.
It was a good one.
Kids dicking about with a shopping trolley in a lift, and it's obviously two brothers, and he decides he's going to run his brother in the trolley into a black bin liner in the corner of the lift, and it just explodes in blood in someone's head. It's genius.
Oh, my favourite bit is when someone accidentally fell in it.
Oh my god, yeah.
For no good reason. There was no
She wasn't even pushed.
She didn't even need to move toward it.
But she fell face first into it.
She didn't even go face first. She just went down, rolled around in it for a second, got up again. I'm covered in red stuff. Yeah. Gross. Brilliant.
But it was, and like you say, it had those elements, but that wasn't the be-all and end-all.
No, it wasn't. I mean, ultimately, they cut away from a lot of the actual scenes of violence. So if it was coming to a kill scene or whatever, a violent scene, it would always cut away. And maybe budget restrictions just, stop that from actually being filmed in the way that they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And they afforded only the number of body parts that could ever be put into a plastic bag, which is why that same plastic bag was used 25 times.
There's a bin bag. They had plenty of bin bags.
Yeah, but the body parts, I think, were also the same.
Oh, I think they were reused.
They were reused, definitely. But it was, for me, I said it pretty early on in the film, it's got a 7 vibe to it.
Yes.
It's quite procedural at the start. It's always dark. It's always raining.
Yeah, it is. Some film noir crap going on there.
There's police turning up. One of them's a bit of a hard case. They're trying to take ownership of the scene.
Yeah.
It's very 7.
And I think, like you were saying before, the element of 7 that comes through as well is it doesn't focus on the act of murder. It focuses on what happens next. It has got one hell of an ending as well. Like, it ends strong. I'm not going to spoil that one as much because I don't think it's as integral to Audition. You had to know what happened at the end, I think. And there's a couple like that where their big thing is their end. But it ended strong with the twists and things. From Tell Me Something to, I'm going to just assume what is one of both of our favourite Tartan Asia Extreme films.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
100%. So 2001's Battle Royale, directed by Kinji Fukasaku. This is a Japanese film. And again, just to throw out my credentials, I read the book.
I did not. There's so many names in there that you
it is difficult.
In our culture, it is impossible to keep track of who they are.
It wasn't that bad.
Or for me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me.
Maybe it's just you. I mean, don't read Game of Thrones or anything, babe.
Yeah. I struggled with the Hobbit.
Yeah, true. That's very namey.
Loads of them dwarf people just called like the same name. Oingo, boingo, and fucking, I don't know.
I think this, like the Ring series and things, this is another one that's almost been taken in by Western culture. This hasn't been remade or anything, but don't say Hunger Games.
I wasn't going to say Hunger Games, but she did claim that she had never seen or heard of Battle Royale.
Called bullshit.
Bullshit.
But I think this is one that's really kind of been taken in by British audiences and American audiences and things, because it is so fun as a film in a lot of ways. Like it's just insane, and it's got the teen demographic and all that kind of stuff. But for anyone who isn't already aware of Battle Royale, in a world where teenagers have no respect and adults are losing control, there can be only one solution: Battle Royale. Now see what happens when you let a high school class loose on an island, arm them and give them a simple choice: kill your friends or have them kill you, with poison crossbows, machetes and dynamite. So Beat Takeshi Kitano is a teacher pushed to the edge by his unruly charges. Kidnapped and gassed, his class wake up with exploding metal collars around their necks. If they rebel, they could lose their heads. Now they have 3 days and only one is permitted to survive this grisly battle to the death. So it's
the BR Act.
The BR Act, the Battle Royale Act. It's brutal in a lot of ways, but really entertaining. It has violence without going too gore. Like, there's violence, but there's not. What I mean is, like, there's blood and there's violent ways that people die, but
It's not protracted
linger.
or drag out. It's dragged out.
Yeah.
Dragged out.
I think it's that thing of, like, you're not seeing intestines and eyeballs falling out. It's not that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? There'll be bloodshed, but it's not exaggerated to a ridiculous degree. But I just thought this was such an amazing film when I first watched it. And I think doing a bit of research, there was a big kind of element of the fact that a lot of Japanese youth had kind of really started to rebel and become criminal. There was really extreme acts of violence for a while, and it was almost a rebellion against the extreme cultural expectations of them, mostly through like the education system and things. So they were being under strict rule of schooling for almost 12 hours a day with homework to take back with them and it broke a lot of them, and it resulted in these really horrendous acts. And that's kind of where Battle Royale comes in, I think, is this kind of exaggerated dystopian future version where kids have just rebelled against any form of control, and so they've brought in this program to put fear into them but also eliminate some of the threats.
I read it as the adults' fear of the children's evolution or revolution, whatever you want to do.
Well, I think
that was greater, and therefore they had to keep them in check.
I think that is, so like, we'll come back to the first one, but I think that comes in a lot more in the Battle Royale Requiem, the sequel, where kind of Noriko, one of the survivors, is kind of this anti-state alliance, and they send in students to the Battle Royale island not to kill each other but to kill him. You know, that is their sole mission. So it does kind of take that twist, but I think, like I say, it was a response to this action that was happening. But at the same time, it was also kind of a response to the fact of this is how adult society is dealing with unruly children. Just put them on an island and tell them to kill each other. Like, no remorse for them.
It's kind of a big fear mechanism to say, ultimately, one of your peers will be picked. Or one of your peer groups will be picked.
Yes.
At random.
We draw a class at random out of a lottery, and it could be you. And I think there was just some very realistic kind of ways of dealing with it. So the fact that some characters banded together and tried to find a logical way out, some simply tried to survive and were killed by the rules of the game. Others went full self-preservation and just got involved in the game. And then there was suicides and betrayals and, people who just said, we're not playing the game. And I think that is what, if you put everyone in that situation, if a class was put in that situation, it would be unrealistic to say they all turned into bloodthirsty little criminals. I think it did a really good job of giving them each human elements.
Oh, massively. It's every single child in that class acted differently.
Yes.
There was no trope for a certain kind of group to go one way or the other way. They all had their own individual personalities.
Yeah, and that leads to the conflict and the kind of violence, and just it kind of gives reason for why. So like the mistrust that one action can kind of put into the characters that causes them all to suddenly shoot each other and things like that. You built up kind of seeing these characters as a group, but the fact that it's so fragile, these allegiances are so fragile because of the crazy circumstances they're in. But we're not doing a full podcast on Battle Royale one day, because I do adore that film. Just kind of wanted to go with what you remember as being your favourite bits.
I knew it was going to come to this, and this is where not doing the research and having a shit memory. I actually think the teacher kill at the start, where it's just like, this is real, this is actually happening, guys.
Yes.
Fuck you, bosh.
Yes, because that is when Nobu is killed, which is Noriko's best friend, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that is such a personal attack on like our main character right at the beginning to prove that we're not fucking about here.
Yeah, it's just a realistic, boosh, this is happening, guys. Yeah. You better adjust right now. Yeah. So I think that's what I would say is my favourite kill.
I really did. I liked a lot of Kazuo, who is the kind of gingery fella who's been put in there on purpose.
Yeah, he's the Ringu.
Yes, and he is just pure psychopath, like just mowing people down.
It's like Rufio.
He does look a bit like Rufio. But it's just like he is the epitome of the vindictive side of this, because there's a point where two of the students are trying to call to, I think... Oh, it's not Noriko. Noriko's the girl. Shuya. Two of the girls are trying to call to Shuya, and he shoots them, and while one of them is suffering, puts the megaphone that she was using near her mouth and lets them hear her kind of pain. I'm like, you don't have to do that. This is survival, not fun, but he is there for pure fun. And then also the student the runner in the Kill Bill tracksuit, the like Bruce Lee yellow tracksuit, who pure just stabs a guy in the dick to death. Just dick stabbing.
Wasn't a fan of that one.
I wonder why. But there is like, and they're not unfair as well, because there is a female student, Mitsuko, who is pure cold-blooded as well, and her and Kazuo have like a full-on showdown
in the shed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think they do such a good job with the killings and things like that, but I think it's not even just so much the killings, it's the moments around it. Like, nothing's better than that first reveal where they all kind of, you see them at different points unzipping their bag, and like one of them's got a fucking bin lid and the other one's got like a gun, and you're just like, this is not fair. Yeah. But I just think it was such an iconic film. Like, even here, I think it became such a massive film.
Yeah, I mean, that's... If you were to go really deep into it, you'd be like, well, this is the hand you've been dealt. And, it's almost like shooting match. This is where you were born. This kind of cultural statement as to this is what you've got. Yeah. You either deal with it and get on with it, and it's harder for you to fight out of it. Yeah. But if you get out of it, great.
Rebel. I think that is their big thing, is those who rebel for the right reasons are allowed either release in the end or survival in the end and things. Those who do the right things. And
right, we're going too far into this now.
Yeah, we need to move on. There was a sequel. It wasn't as good, but it was still fun to watch.
There's guns and shit in that one though, like proper uprising.
Yeah, that is more like a rebellion versus a powerful government.
The kids are on an island, right?
Yes.
Sweet. I remember that.
So, moving on, before we end up doing a mini dissertation on Battle Royale, the next one, so our 2002 film was... 2004 was Three Extremes. The reason I got confused is because Three Extremes 2, which came before Three Extremes in 2002, but was renamed as its sequel to gain traction off the success of Three Extremes, made me put them in the wrong order. But we didn't watch Three Extremes 2, we just watched Three Extremes.
We did.
And this is 3 short films. This is Fruit-chan, Park Chan-wook and Takeshi Miike. We have Dumplings, Cut and Box. So... Dumplings is our first one. It was made into a feature-length film and concerns a woman desperate to reclaim her youth who ends up eating some weird dumplings to do so.
Yeah, I mean, it's that age-old fetus-eating story.
Yeah, that one we're all familiar with.
Everybody's familiar with it. It's, wrap them up in dumplings and chow down.
Obviously, it's kind of that thing of when she realises what's going on and what she's being fed, but obviously the effects, it is a gross concept, but it is...
And she cannot give it up at the end.
No.
She's
addicted to it, but it is beautiful in the way that it's shot.
What she would do to maintain a youthly vibe, youthly visage.
Yeah, the imagery of youth, the kind of she's not young, but she wants to put that across, and she's an actor, so obviously it's the kind of industry where youth is cash, you know. Youth is your ticket, and she doesn't want to be seen as old. She thinks her husband is no longer interested in her, so she's like, if I can look young again like I used to. But there is a lot as well about this idea of just the young suffering at the hands of the old and youth being stolen and things. There's a little bit of a story in this where a young girl does die after a botched abortion, which obviously the whole fetus thing and stuff, and that was for the gain of someone else, and she suffered at the hands of it and things. Also, just, you know, to make it worse, that links to the big theme of a lot of the films, because the father of her child was her father. They just threw that one in because we're going to get into this in other ones.
But incest. Let's just say incest, and then we'll just continue that theme, I think, through more of the latter...
Through all of the rest of the films.
Yeah.
The next one was Cut, which was the one where they were making a film at the beginning, and we saw, like, the opening scene of the film and things. It was a little bit One Cut of the Dead, like when they yelled cut, and then it was like, that's not the opening of the film.
Oh shit, yeah, the vampire lady.
Yeah. And then that has nothing to do with the film.
Nothing to do with it at all. Extremely confusing.
Yes. So this is a home invasion, a guy kind of torturing a director because he is handsome, nice and successful, and this man doesn't like that. At least you could, the least you could do is be a dick, you know. How dare you also be nice at the same time, which is such a weird concept, but yeah, he wants to prove that the world is full of awful people and that nobody is truly good. But it's weird.
Yeah, I have only just found out it was called Cut, and I would not call that film Cut. I understand why it's called Cut. But Cut has very little to do with what's happening in that film. I know. But it's like, that is not the overall theme of the film.
No, but I think
the overall theme of the film is There's shit tied to things everywhere. There is literally... Just call it piano wire or something
but
like
you said,
because that's the most impactful image in that entire film. The fact that there's an axe.
She's tied to cut. All this wire, but
it's
like you said, it didn't
call it what's a marionette? Call it marionette.
Yeah, but that wasn't important. Like you said, the way she was rigged up to look didn't impact on the film.
It could have done.
It could have done, but we didn't direct it, and if we did, it would have done. I did enjoy this. What, like I said, it wasn't great, but I think so. This is the Chan-wook Park one, and I think it had some interesting moments. There is a butt dance. Made me laugh. So he does a little butt dance. It was a bit confusing, and it's obviously looking at social class and things like that, and it had a few twists and turns in it as we went along.
I think that the twists were telegraphed.
Yeah. Telegraphed to the point where it did still shock me that they did them. I was like, oh, they're doing that. Okay. Yeah. But I think it was alright. It was very pretty set designs.
Yeah, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I'm just saying that I felt like it was going to do more. And I was disappointed that it didn't.
I expected more. And the last one from Three Extremes is by Takashi Miike, and it was Box. So this one was a bit more of a ghosty, artsy story. Romantic novelist who is kind of tormented by her childhood trauma. Again, lots of dream logic, lots of dream imagery. He very much loves ballet imagery. These girls were dancers again, just kind of like Asumi from Audition was. This had some disturbing moments, but once again, it came right back round to incest.
Always incest.
Why?
Always to incest.
And a terrible accident brought on by jealousy, but jealousy of her sister's relationship to her dad, and it was all a little bit, again, beautiful visuals, this big circus tent in the snow, all that kind of stuff was stunning. But stop making related people have sexual urges towards each other.
It was like double incest in this.
Yeah, because then there was the jealousy and no.
Yeah, it was weird.
But it was
it happened.
It was there. So Three Extremes, I do kind of get, again, that anthology sort of thing is a good way to get in, and you try a few directors, and they all had very distinct styles and themes and things. But I enjoyed Dumplings. I think I have watched the feature length, but I think it dragged a little bit and got a bit convoluted. Cut was fine, could have been shorter, and Box was beautiful, but could have done without the pissing incest. Speaking of incest...
While we're on the subject of incest.
We move on to 2003's Oldboy, and I apologise because that was just a giant spoiler, but if you've not figured that out by now...
I mean, you may as well give up on the remainder of this podcast.
Yeah, just watch Oldboy. It is actually a very, very good film. So this is Park Chan-wook, and this is a Japanese film, and it's based on a manga called Oldboy, and tells the horrific tale of Odesu, so a businessman who is inexplicably kidnapped and imprisoned in a grim hotel room kind of cell for 15 years without knowing his captor or the reason for his incarceration. He is eventually released, learns of his wife's murder, and embarks on a quest for revenge, whilst also striking up a romance with a young, attractive sushi chef, Mido. He eventually finds his tormentor, but their final encounter will yield yet more unimaginable horrors.
I mean, the words released in that synopsis are very light, considering what actually... He is placed in a suitcase on a roof.
Yep.
And he
I set you
escapes.
free.
He escapes said suitcase to find a guy that is committing suicide or about to
contemplating suicide on the edge of this tall building.
So, yeah, there's a lot of simplification, I think, in that synopsis there that overlooks quite how extreme this film is.
But it's a synopsis, so it has to overlook it, because otherwise it tells you everything. And I think this is one that has to be experienced. Even if you know what's coming, you could know everything. You have to watch this.
It's not very simple. It's certainly not as simple as that synopsis made it sound.
No.
And one that I think definitely deserves a watch, despite altogether reverting round to the common theme of incest.
Yes. Yeah, I think it reverting to that kind of... I think, obviously, because one of the ones that was on our list that we didn't get round to and stuff was Visitor Q, which is also, I think, Takashi Miike, and that's another one that deals with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's that ultimate taboo, isn't it? Familial relations in that way and things is such... It's beyond other taboos. It's that and cannibalism and things like, you know, so it's pushing the ultimate boundaries. And maybe we just picked the wrong ones. Like, I'm not going to accuse all kind of Eastern Asian films of dealing with that, because a lot of the ones on this list don't. No. But they just seem to be... I think it's because we watched them so clustered together that I was literally getting to the point of banging my head against a wall going, just stop. Just could someone be in a relationship with someone who isn't related to them, please? I think looking beyond that, although that is such... At least with this one, that is done in a way that is purposeful. Like, yes. I will give this one what it does. It hits you in the stomach when the reveals and things happen for it. And the story is absolutely insane and it shouldn't work, but Park Chan-wook has just kind of manipulated it so well that everything about it works. Odesu he's learned everything in life from television because of it. Well, do you know what I mean? He's been comforted for 15 years by television. So the way he talks, the way he moves, the way he knows things is so stilted because that's been his only port of contact with the outside world. And, you know, he's kind of like, he comes out and some thugs try and attack him. He's like, I wonder if fake, you know, beating up a man on a wall that he's drawn translates to real life. And he kicks some ass. His fantasy fighting in his little hotel prison leads to kicking some ass.
Well, he is punching a block wall at points, so
yeah,
he's going to be pretty hard.
He's all right. But this is absolutely kind of stylish, kind of postmodern, really dark sense of humour, this kind of gritty, modern, kind of neo-noir. It's crime in a lot of ways. It's like a gangster film more than it is a horror.
I would say gangster, certainly, more than crime.
It's got that kind of gangster element to it, while still I can 100% understand why it's under the extreme label. There may not be guts and gore galore, but it belongs underneath the extreme label. But this was the second film in Park Chan-wook's Vengeance trilogy. So we now have to, out of order slightly, but we need to watch Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Lady Vengeance as well. I feel like from my enjoyment of Oldboy, we need to watch those.
But we do own them.
We own Lady Vengeance. We need to find Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. And that leads us to the last film on our shelf that we had a look at. And that was 2003's A Tale of Two Sisters, directed by Kim Jee-woon, and this was a Korean film. This is one that I've seen, but I don't think you've seen.
No, I have not.
No?
Not at all.
I think this is one as well that I would very much like to show you, so I'm going to try and be as careful as I can with it. But there may be some little spoilery bits as well.
I will forget immediately.
So, after being in hospital, two sisters return home to their father and stepmother, Sumi is the older sister and she's prepared to speak her mind. Soo-yeon, however, is more wary and still haunted by bad memories of the place, and she becomes an easy target for her stepmother's bullying. But then there are strange things that start happening in their house. Is this their stepmother trying to torment them, or is there something more sinister hiding in the shadows? Yeah, this kind of plays on the whole evil stepmom Disney trope to begin with, in that this woman is just seen as awful and vindictive and cruel and abusive to Soo-yeon, at least, the younger sister. But this is a perfect example of that psychological haunting Asian kind of cinema. Okay. So it's not so much ring, long-haired girl, creepy ghost, but there is a lot of elements like that. It's very much, yeah, lots of beautiful uses of like imagery and things like these very well crafted visuals of these spirits and ghosts or little things that they're leaving behind, and blood under the floorboards and ribbons coming out of things that ribbons shouldn't come. Yeah, that kind of element. And I would say this is almost, it's Switchblade Romance-esque whilst pulling it off better than Switchblade Romance. Haute tension. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
So I think it's got those psychological elements to it, and it is so well played out. Like, I think this was one of the very first kind of, I think after like Battle Royale, I think this was one of the next ones that I watched, and I do remember just, it was haunting. Like, it's really beautiful and just
what
psychological.
Did we watch the other day that was similar to this, where he was several characters in a Victorian type environment? Or is this something that I watched?
This may be a work watch.
Yeah, it might have been, actually. I might have had it in the background that I just thought, you know what? This is like Identity.
Yeah, similar to that kind of thing, in that there is a play upon
thriller, but with horror elements.
With those horror, well, I think it goes further into the horror than something like Identity does, and it has those kind of elements of what's real and what isn't, how sane is she, and people reacting to the three characters and things. I think we may need to do a retrospective, like in another episode we'll just open up with what you thought of this one.
Okay.
I would highly, highly recommend it. I just think it is beautiful. But those were as many as we could get through from the creation and little idea that popped into our heads to do this one after the screening of certain films at our local cinema. So obviously Tartan Asia, Tartan and Tartan Asia Extreme as a kind of subsidiary of that did disappear in 2008. It was picked up by some other companies, obviously the one that I can't pronounce. Palisades. So, shut up. Palisades did pick up some of the backlog and things. It is amazing how big of a crate, I think that's what struck me, was as soon as we looked at going to see a audition and then looked at the shelf for the Tartan Asia DVDs we had and things, it was like, crap, this was huge. Like, Eastern horror was huge. Yeah. Accidentally, not on the purpose of buying that brand, but kind of just because they were such a big part during that time when we were probably teens and exploring horror beyond just Sixth Sense, I Know What You Did Last Summer, those kind of things. When you started branching out, I think that's when Tartan Asia Extreme was in its big kind of moments.
Well, it certainly would have been early to
late kind of 2000s, yeah.
Yeah, probably more early for me and you late.
Yeah, but that's similar region. But I think, because in doing a bit of this research, I was like, well, what happened? Why did Tartan have to, why did it go into liquidation or whatever those businessy words are? And obviously I think it did overreach. I think it bought too many titles that were so specialised they weren't selling mass amounts of DVDs. But my second theory is that we were just oversaturated with like J-horror and Asian horror remakes.
Oh, I mean, America just took over, did it not?
Yeah.
The majority of the films that we've talked about have had an adaptation / remake.
Just pure reboot, yeah.
Reboot with American audiences. Oh, sorry, American actors. Some with some success. Some massive success. Some with
limited.
Absolutely no success whatsoever, by comparison.
I think so. Again, I've kind of researched which ones that are Tartan Asia that have been remade. Managed to kind of come up with a bit of a list. So obviously, Ringu was remade. The Japanese film was remade in 2002 by Gore Verbinski, and that became the Ring franchise with Naomi Watts and stuff. I would say, as much as it doesn't capture some of the things from the original Japanese film, I mind that one. I didn't mind the Ring remake.
It's probably the most honest. That and The Grudge, I would say, are the most honest to the original.
And obviously, The Grudge wasn't Tartan Asia Extreme, but I think that had similar. It landed around the same time, didn't it? When we were getting this kind of lots of Asian remakes
Sarah
in
Michelle
Hollywood.
Gellar?
Yes, that was Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yeah. Which I always struggle with, because same as like, I know what you did last summer. It's like, Buffy, just fight. We know you can. Dark Water, which is another one, Japanese film, was remade in 2005 by Walter Sales, and that had Jennifer Connelly and Tim Roth in it.
I've only seen the Japanese version.
I think I have seen the American version.
Tim Roth, wow.
I do love Tim Roth.
Big name.
And I don't think it was the worst, but I think Dark Water itself struggles a little bit because it's a short story.
Or the worst remake, you mean? Or the worst...
Oh yeah, I don't think it's the worst remake of
I
like
liked Dark Water as a film.
The Japanese. Yeah, I did like it. I think it does lose something, and obviously it's got its
translation. Well, yeah.
It sometimes it's kind of like, do you know how sometimes you would have to take the setting of something and change it. So the reason, weird example, but the reason that Shameless in America works so well is they, instead of just blind copying it, they went, what is America's version of our council estate? And they went for trailer park, and they made it American with the same.
It wasn't. They lived under a bridge.
Who?
In Shameless in America.
I thought it was trailer parking. Yeah, but that kind
lived
of
under
like trolls.
No. No.
Like trolls.
Like under an underpass with like a house with chain fencing outside. It wasn't.
It wasn't more of a kind of slummy.
It just wasn't a very affluent area.
Right, but they
But it was a good translation from one to the other.
They translated from one to the other.
In between us, not so much.
No, they didn't do that well because the education system's so different. You can't translate the two. No. I don't think. The next one on the chopping block. So I didn't even realise this, but The Departed, made in 2006 by Martin Scorsese, is a remake of Infernal Affairs.
Is it really? Wow.
That was the Hong Kong film, obviously.
Well, that's pretty successful.
Yeah.
Marky Mark's in it.
Marky Mark is in it. Leo DiCaprio, Jack Nicholson, Matt Damon. I think that is now making me...
All of these names I've never heard of. Marky Mark's in it, though.
You shut up. Although, yeah, Marky Mark is the man.
There's a funky bunch in it as well.
Only in one cutscene.
Is he wearing leather pants?
He's wearing underwear the entire time. I think it's really disappointing. It's
nowhere near as good as Rockstar.
But that's made me even more intrigued to watch Infernal Affairs, to be honest. Based upon like The Departed and things. So obviously that was a really successful one. I think that was probably successful because the essence of it was taken without everything being taken. Like it's I don't think that's going to be like a complete copy. I think The Departed is going to be its own kind of thing. And I imagine Scorsese's going to put his own thing on it anyway. The next remake was The Eye in 2008. by Sebastian Gutierrez. So this was a Hong Kong Singaporean film originally and then remade. There are 3 remakes of this film actually. A 2004 Indian film, a 2005 Hindi film. The American film starred Jessica Alba and was a dumpster fire.
She blind, isn't it?
Yeah.
She gets transplanted eyes.
She gets the transplanted eye. Oh, this was... I have watched the Japanese one, and the way they do the imagery and things of that is brilliant. And I love Jessica Alba. I have nothing against Jessica Alba.
She's really good in Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four?
Sin City.
Sue Storm? Yeah. She's good in Sin City. Like, I really do like her in a lot of things. But this was terrible. I have never been less convinced that you are blind. I have never been less convinced that you are in trouble. Like, that was a bad remake. Bad remake.
Gothica.
Gothica's not a remake.
No, but it was terrible.
But it was just shit. Yeah, it's another shit film like Gothica. Although, do you know what the best thing about Gothica
quite
was?
Famous was in it. Halle Berry.
Yeah. And Robert Downey Jr.
And it was terrible. And what's that other one with Halle Berry in?
Catwoman? Yeah, it's not a horror, but shit.
Remake? I feel like it should be.
Spin-off of the character Catwoman from the Batman series. Ill-advised spin-off.
Who did it better?
Michelle Pfeiffer.
I believe it's pronounced Pfeiffer.
Have you started taking up my ability to pronounce names? So that was followed up by the 2008 remake of Shutter by Masayuki Ochiai, which was a Thai film. This starred Joshua Jackson, Rachel Taylor and Megumi Okina. I don't think I've seen this remake.
Shutter?
It's the one I've seen. I'm pretty sure I've seen the kind of Thai film because it's about capturing spirits on camera.
Oh, so yeah.
And it always reminded me of the video game Project Zero. Basically, you are like a young woman, and your only battle against the demons and things is that you can, if you take their picture, you take their power from them. It's like being stuck in Resi Evil, but all you've got is a fucking camera. So that was a really, really good video game.
I've just seen a picture
film,
of
not so
Joshua
much.
Jackson and I'm just like...
Yeah!
I know that guy.
You were a big naughties guy.
He was like a huge naughties guy.
And
but
then
I have
you were
no
nothing.
idea what he was in. Mighty Ducks!
Mighty
That's
Ducks!
what it is! Mighty Ducks!
Okay.
Of course it
now
is.
we're happy. End the podcast on that. No, I have more. 2008 also brought Mirrors, which was a remake of the South Korean film Into the Mirror. So this was Alexandre Aja who did the directing on this one, and I like him. He's a good guy.
What else did
he did Crawl.
Oh yeah, terrible.
So, excuse you.
Like...
Excuse you. Did Piranhas 3, not 3D. Why are you laughing at that?
It basically does mutated animals in water films.
He did 2 mutated animals in water film. He did Crawl and Piranha. Oh no, Piranha 3D, sorry. 3D, not 3DD. That's where I'm getting confused.
3DD is way better.
He did Horns, the one based on the Joe Hill book. He did The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah, mutated.
And he did Attention.
Yeah, so he's done 4 mutated films and a mental health film.
Yeah.
Would you call it that?
Yeah. Aja, my man, leave him alone. And I do remember watching Mirrors, and it wasn't too bad. I think it's just like Keith Sutherland smashes a shit ton of mirrors in a warehouse is what I mostly remember from it. But yeah.
Amy Smart, she's the one from Butterfly Effect, right? That goes from like being amazingly pretty to I have basically chewed through my own face.
Yeah, like I live on a fresh diet of crack.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe that.
She does a good job in that.
Yeah. That's another one that I think we should revisit, but we'll be massively disappointed when we revisit it.
I just can't see fucking what's his face in the same light anymore.
Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
But I won't watch it.
That's fine. I mean, we own it.
We do own it.
I've owned it since we owned it.
Logics. So, 2009, we got The Uninvited, which again I did not know about and did not realise was a remake of A Tale of Two Sisters, so a South Korean film.
We watched The Uninvited together.
Have we watched The Uninvited?
I feel like we have.
Well, it's so shitely linked to A Tale of Two Sisters that I still haven't realised it was a remake.
No.
It's directed by the Guard brothers, which when I saw that I thought, ooh, if you're called, like, if you've got a name, you're Soska sisters, do you know what I mean? You've got a name for the two of you together as a duo. Yeah, I know they've done, like, one of the film that I've never heard of, and maybe some adverts. I don't know, I'd never heard of it.
They've done some adverts.
Well, they have. They've mostly done adverts. Their big listings was, like, Audi commercial. I'm not being a bitch, but I just thought to end the kind of moniker of not just being we are Joe and James, Guard, the Guard brothers, made them sound a lot cooler than what my Google search came up with.
British.
Yeah. Doesn't mean I have to make them sound better.
I mean, you Google the Guard brothers, and it literally comes up with one guard.
Yeah, but just says he works frequently with his brother. So moving on from the Guard brothers and all my amazing facts on them, we have 2012's remake of the Japanese film Apartment 1303, and that was remade into Apartment 1303 3D. Apartment 1303...
All I want to say is it Apartment 1408?
No, Apartment 1303 3D.
Then I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm not going to watch the remake. It has Misha Barton in it. I watched the original Japanese and it wasn't great, to be honest, so I'm not even going to bother. The next one... Where are we? Oh no, I unchronologicized.
Dechronological it?
Yeah, I didn't put that one in order. So, Bangkok Dangerous was a 2008 remake of Bangkok Dangerous, and it was a Thai film, and it's the Pang brothers. So the same directors did the original Thai film that did the remake, and that is a Nicolas Cage vehicle.
Of course it is.
And I just feel like... I get it, because you do get a lot of kind of directors that'll direct in their native language and then direct an Americanized remake of their own film.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not sure I can handle that much Cage.
I mean, I knew this was coming out at the time that it came out. Bearing in mind it's 11 years ago now. But for me,
so old.
A film that is called like Place Name Dangerous,
and it's not it. Yeah.
Where's the appeal for this?
Bangkok Dangerous, but with all Americans. Yeah.
Insert place name, insert descriptor.
True. But the last big remake that I wanted to talk about.
Spain Hot.
France Unruly.
You've got a bit of a statement there, haven't you?
UK Dismal.
There you go. Sorted.
That's a film we're going to direct.
Bangkok Dangerous, UK Dismal. 2020. It's not low budget,
it's going to be such a
£1,000,000.
sad film.
It's basically going to be a camera set up at our back window watching it rain.
Yeah. Lots of footage of queues. Really long queues.
Just a guy suddenly
sighing. So much sighing.
For fuck's sake.
Okay, we need to wrap this up now. So, our last big kind of remake of the Asian films. So, Oldboy got a remake. The South Korean film that we loved was remade in 2013 by Spike Lee. And it was starring Josh Brolin, Elizabeth Olsen, and Samuel L. Jackson. I think it kind of follows a similar story, but it definitely changes the bleak ending.
Does it?
It does not end with the hypnosis.
So he knowingly goes off.
He cuts all ties with her.
It does not have the same impact then. That's bullshit.
No.
I have not seen this remake and I am angry.
Spike Lee, amazing filmmaker, has done
Josh
some...
Brolin, is he purple in it?
He's not purple.
Oh, okay.
He also has both functioning eyes.
Is Elizabeth Olsen Red Scarlet Witch?
Yes.
Is she a Scarlet Witch person in it?
No, she's just his daughter.
Okay. Samuel L. Jackson, does he have an eye patch?
He doesn't. Fuck, this is the Avengers.
Yeah. I imagine Sharlto Copley is also an Avenger.
I am not sure, but if not, Marvel needs to give them a ring. Also, we need to double check if this is canon. I really am not sure about this. But yeah, Spike Lee does some brilliant original films, but fuck me, was this a waste.
He was in Chappie.
He was in Chappie.
And Hardcore Henry.
Ooh.
But he was not.
He's not
in the Avengers, which is a shame.
Because otherwise we'd have been 4 for 4 there.
Oh, fuck off. Was he in District 9? Is he the guy from District 9? He is the guy from District 9.
Oh!
He's South African.
He's that guy.
Watford.
But yeah, that film just had no need to be remade, really. So I'm going to wrap us up on this Tartan Asia Extreme episode with some news from around 2014. It's the last thing I could find, really, about Tartan Asia Extreme. There was really not that much out there about it as kind of a branding and things.
Phenomenon.
As a phenomenon. But the North American indie art house kind of distributor, Kino Lorber, has picked up the rights to the
Palisades
Tartan library, including Tartan Asia Extreme. I'm just going to use you like pocket cup. Gorilla. You're my little speak and spell.
Shut up, Buffy.
So this was kind of 2014. I did look on their website and you can kind of purchase Tartan Asia Extreme titles under there with the Tartan Asia Extreme kind of, yeah, you can still get them with the banding on the top and things like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's quite nice that it's still kind of going, because it would have been awful if that kind of branding just disappeared, or if they were no longer being distributed on DVD and things like that. Because I know some of them have come to streaming, but
well, it's nice to the fact that this distributor is still happy to have Tartan Asia Extreme, someone else as a former distributor on their label.
Well, because it kind of became a brand. It was like a branding of it, and that was, you knew what you were getting if you went into like HMV or something and was like Tartan Asia Extreme DVD. You were going to get something fucking weird.
You say that, but after this whole watching them back to back, it's quite interesting, whilst there are a lot of similarities, how different a lot of these are.
But they all deserve their Extreme title, is what I mean. Like, you knew you were going to get something that fit that bill. You weren't going to do kind of purchasing a DVD or renting a DVD because it looked like it should have been scary or had a name that sounded scary and finding out it was not. I have some stories on that, but we'll go into those at another time.
Jack Frost.
Oh god.
Oh shit, nailed it as well. That was
yeah.
I tuned out then, but I tuned back in apparently.
There was some other ones, but I think what's great now.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Oh wait, no, Muffy the Vampire Slayer.
Shut up. Back on porn.
Shaman Ryan's Privates.
Shut up. No, I did not rent any of those from Blockbuster. They wouldn't let me. I think what's great now is, so Tartan as a kind of distributor really did well at bringing things over here. And now we have these worldwide streaming sites and things. Obviously, you only get certain things in the UK compared to America. On Netflix and Shudder and stuff. Shudder has upped its game. I'm going to give Shudder some credit in upping its UK game.
But I have to say it's been exhausted since it's improved, and now we need more.
Yeah. You gave us more, and we are modern dickheads, and I want more of that more now. So I think, because like Oldboy is on Shudder now as well, isn't it?
A lot of these films that we've talked about today are on Shudder.
Are kind of coming, and I think that's where we've kind of expanded that now. Like Shudder, you'll just click on a film because you've read the synopsis, and it's not until it starts up that you're like, this is not English or American.
Yeah, I can't just have this on in the background.
No, I need to pay attention to the bloody subtitles.
I need to read and shit.
Yes. But I think that's what's great is like, and also, so Tartan Asia Extreme really did deal with Southeast Asia and things like that, like, you know, Japan, Korea, Thailand. It didn't go further, whereas now some of the horror films we've watched have been from all different regions and things.
What was the Indonesian one we watched the other day? It was like Evil Dead-ish.
Yes.
I'm sure that was an Indonesian one.
There was an Indonesian one, yeah. But just kind of having access to horror films beyond Europe as well, like French horror films and Spanish horror films are great, but we get a lot more of them, but kind of that sort of difference of Palestinian and kind of Iranian horror. Satan's Slaves was the Indonesian. So like venturing out into cultures that we maybe aren't as closely associated to as we are to European ones. And I think that's a really brilliant thing, because experiencing horror from someone else's culture, it's not safe because we don't understand it. It shows us something new, and that is something, you know, fear of new, fear of something different. And that can be just like the styles that they use are something we've not been programmed to get over already. Like, yes, American jump scare, do this, do that. Gory, do this, do that. British social realism, do this, do that. Like,
yeah, and it's like Isa Lopez, what's that, Mexican?
Tigers Are Not Afraid.
Tigers Are Not Afraid. I imagine that particular film is kind of, in Mexican culture, a lot easier to handle, whereas coming at it from our perspective...
Or different to handle.
Yeah, different to handle. Coming at it from our perspective, that shit is bleak.
I cried.
So bleak.
And I think that is the thing, like, when you realise what... And I think, like, say, what other cultures find scary, but what other cultures classify as the norm for them as well is such a different thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So... yay, bring on more global cinema. I want to watch films from places that I don't usually watch films from. We just have to be more awake and ready for subtitles. But thank you for listening to this, what may be a longer than average episode. We'll see how the editing of this one goes down. If you've made it to the end, you've stuck with us, and thank you. Thank you. But I'm going to link to all the different things that I use for research on this, because I don't want to take credit for some of the background knowledge. I did just do some extensive Googling. I do feel worthy though, none of them are wiki links. Like they're just, I looked at other things apart from Wikipedia, because Wikipedia's one is shite for this as well.
I'm going to reference absolutely zero links.
No, that's fine.
I did no research.
But you participated. You get a participation medal.
I am present.
I am mostly here.
I exist.
So we're gonna get going again. I think you're having an existential crisis, babe.
It's a permanent state of being.
Once again, thank you for listening through this very long research episode. I hope you've enjoyed. If you would like more content, you can find articles and lists and all of the fun things on the website bombshellsandblueshells.com. And you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Bombshells and Blueshells, or on Twitter at @BBlueShells. Can you remember where you live on the interwebs?
No.
So you can find the other Alex on Instagram and Twitter at 32bit5. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you in a couple of weeks. Bye!
Bye!